the Rockets have a defensive identity. They have a lot of tough, rugged guys who can guard a bunch of different positions. They have a new coach who will hold those young guys accountable, and they're going to be legit.
No, I think they're a year away from being legit. I still think they're too young, with a lot of that roster, and I worry that when you couldn't score efficiently last season, adding two guys that made less than 40% of their shots with high volume
when
shooting
you put it that way,
like I do think they're going to be better. I think me, I was all in on this core last year of like in the future. I love me some Jalen Green. Like, I think there's a lot there. I think Jabari Smith was better than what we saw last season. Right? I think there's more to his game than what we saw in his rookie campaign. And he kind of cleaned it up a little bit towards the second half of the season. But I just think like that's Udoka coming into that Celtics team and making them so great. Yeah, there were a lot of like really good players. I think there's the idea of a lot of really good players on this Rockets team that still. It's going to take a little bit longer to mold. Josh, I don't know how you view them.
Well, I just don't know if the maturity is there yet.
Right.
Like
that's everything you heard last year too, of like, this is like an AAU team rather than this is an NBA environment.
I mean, when you get John Wall coming in talking about like, these guys don't take it seriously. Like, I mean, so like, and you already got Kevin Porter Jr., who knows? Right.
Well, yeah, I think I can't imagine
can't imagine we'll see him play basketball.
Who knows?
Which actually, right. I mean,
but will we? The league is so weird, man. Like,
that's true. Yeah,
you don't know. You don't know. Like, I mean, Miles Bridges. Well, who knows? Again, but
who
like,
knows what's going on with that? Right.
You just don't know, right? I do feel like sometimes a little inconsistent in terms of like what they decide to punish and how they punish it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But
yeah, I love this team a year from now. I just don't right away that turnaround results in wins.
Was the best vet for them to bring in Dillon Brooks? In terms of like, they already are having a problem with.
That's such an existential question.
But I'm just saying, like they are already having a
that's
problem.
That's not even
with
like its own podcast.
Level.
That's a podcast series. Like that's a special report by.
Like, this is the guy that's going to now help lead the way and set an example.
He already hit someone in the balls. Yeah.
He has already been kicked out of the game.
And then blamed it on his nickname, which he gave himself.
It's just interesting, man. And
in the playoffs, he hit someone in the dick and blamed the media.
Yeah.
And now he hits, and then he blamed the refs because of his nickname that he gave himself.
Well, then also, man, like I get like Ime, great coach.
Yeah, I think Ime is like the
coach, man. Legit coach. But you have to look at it from this perspective. Ime's been a little bit of trouble himself. Right? Is the credibility there to really like rein in behavior?
Is the one year he coached, it was great, right?
Great.
Like it was,
and then it just wasn't.
And then he didn't get
in two places, man.
Yeah,
back to back.
Yeah, it's tough.
That's tough. I just think as a player, you look at that and kind of go like, "Oh, you're talking to me about behavior."
Well, okay, right. That's good because it's such a young team, right? That Celtics team kind of policed itself a little. You know, Marcus Smart's kind of policing that room, sure. Right? As you know, since you've been in those locker rooms, a guy comes in and
he wants to get on me about how I'm acting.
Interesting.
All right. But again, that comes down to the maturity level, right?
Yeah. Like, but is there a separation? Is there a separation between look at how you're acting and he wants me to make a defensive rotation and do that consistently? Like, can you separate the basketball piece from the other stuff? Because I think it's the basketball
maturity
piece
thing
where
you separate it.
It's going to be a huge culture change for them going from Steven Silas, who might be the nicest person in the NBA, but is also like a bit on the meek side for coaches. And Ime is going to go in and just start barking at guys from day one and be super honest and hold guys super accountable. And he'll probably be honest about himself too and everything.
Yeah.
He's got to be
done wrong.
You know what I think's interesting about this? Like they brought in, Fred's going to help like some of that mentorship, and Jeff Green helps some of that mentor. Like Jeff Green was a great pickup for them. But I think another interesting thing, and Jay, you can kind of speak to this a little bit, of early on in the season when Ime was there in Boston, they like a lot. I remember a lot of people question rotations, question his lineups, like what's he doing, and you kind of do have to just figure stuff out on the fly. And then it took off, and it was great. There's some real rotation issues with this team because they actually have so many guys that they need to get on the court, and I am curious how that manifests itself in what Josh is talking about with the maturity. Can those young guys take a back seat early on and trust that they'll get their time and the vision is there and it's going to work out?
Yeah, that's the tough part when you're coaching young guys, is like convincing young guys that it's not about stats. And because let's be honest, in the NBA, a lot of your next contract is how many points did you score?
For sure.
What are the individual stats you put up? And it shouldn't be like that, but it is a lot of the time. And so you got to convince Tari Eason, like, you're coming off the bench. That's for the best for us. You could score more points. You could take more shots, but we need you to be a defensive minded, tenacious dude and just buy into that. And that's tough. That's tough to tell young guys. So I do think that piece of it, there are concerns about a lot of that stuff. They still have a lot of really young guys who have not like been consistent about the way they've played basketball throughout the years.
And they've gone unchecked. That's what's going to be interesting, right?
Yeah.
It's like you get a kid who for last 2-3 years, right, has basically been allowed to play how they want, behave how they want, do those things, right? It's just going to come down to like the maturity of when Ime does come in and bark at him, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to handle it?
Yeah.
And how far does he go with it? Like,
exactly.
Does he pull Jalen Green when Jalen Green starts making bad decisions? Is that going to happen? How's Jalen Green going to react to something like that? Like,
I just want to see Jalen Green and Cam Whitmore on the floor together, just jacking up shots.